excited about it. All right, who's this? You guys can see my screen, right? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I like about it is it's really starting to pop. And then you're sort of using these like in his eyes sort of as a, to give it a little character, correct?
Yes.
So I'm wondering.
I was going to ask about that actually.
You know, to be honest, I was just talking about this in the class right before this with Photoshop. Sometimes you need a lot of layers. Now, what I'm going to say, hang on a sec. What I'm going to say to that is there's nothing wrong with that, okay? But what I'm going to say is when you send it to a client or something like that, then you're going to want to clean up your file a little bit. And you may not need to. If those layers make sense and everything and they're clear, then you might not, okay? But I was telling them I came into digital from a traditional background and I got thrown into the deep end. It was a total trial by fire for me to learn digital. And I know I did. I worked really sloppy. I worked like a traditional painter or whatever, illustrator or whatever in the digital environment. So I was just going, oh, this brush does kind of this. And I just equated it all back to my traditional skill set. And my boss at the time would go, hey, you need to. And I remember getting really pissy with him and going, you know what? Fuck you, Dale. Yeah, that's the way you work. I don't work that way. And he wasn't doing it to do that. What he was trying to tell me, which he should have been more clear about, is like, dude, your files are a mess. Like when when I get it or so-and-so gets it over in the sculpting department, they're a mess. If he would have just said that, I would have got it, but I wouldn't have known how to clean it up yet. So all I'm saying is that, like, you know, if you had, I don't know, 14 layers that are pieces of some little thing and you need to do that, that's fine. But then I'd probably collapse those layers down before I sent it. You know, I just want to make it the way I look at it is I'm just going, how would I want to get this file? And it'll make more sense to you as we roll through this. And then I used to also do a thing, and I probably said this in here, depending on who I was sending my files to, I would make them a tangled mess where you couldn't work on them. Okay. And I did that if I was sending it to somebody who I knew was a company where it could pass through other people who weren't creative people. Okay. And I've had this happen, by the way. It happens a lot. Like you'll send them. I mean, obviously I've been doing this a long time and I'm a pro at this. And I send them a finished illustration. And then all of a sudden I see it in some other phase of this, or maybe even out in the world, if it's a product or something. And somebody went in and just destroyed it. Okay. And what happens is sometimes your work will go into some environment like that. And they'll go, you know, because then you go, what happened to this? They go, oh, we had Andrea. She answers the phones and she's super creative. So she said she could make it a little better, it makes some steam come out of my ears when that happens. Okay. It makes me insane. Okay. Because I just don't even understand. I would never do something like that. Okay. I would never screw with somebody else's work in a field that I know nothing about. Okay. Does that make sense? I got asked to do that in Imagineering, by the way, on a guy I was working with on his painting. And he goes, hey, work over it. Just work over it. And I go, you know what? That's whatever his name was. Alan's painting, man. I go, I can work over it. But I go, how about we do this? Let's take it over in the digital environment and screw around with it over there. I don't want to just go paint all over his stuff. It feels invasive to me. Now, sometimes you do have to do that. But I go, there's no reason for us to do this. We can scan it and do it digitally. I don't need to screw with his watercolor painting and all that. Not to mention, I don't want to make a bunch of changes I can't change, right? And I thought his painting was cool. Okay, so what I was going to say is, there's a couple of things. Let's just see here. Does it need a pupil in the center of this? Maybe small. Just to really clearly define that. that make sense?
Yeah.
And I like the sprinkles around it. I think that's a cool idea. This looks pretty good. How did you create these shapes here? Did you just sort of freehand them?
I did use the pen tool and just kind of freehanded, and hopefully it worked well because I was looking
No, they
at
do work well.
different bites and like some literally were just teeth. So I just kind of just went through with it and like, well, that looks good. I'll take
No,
that.
no. I think it looks fine. I'm just asking because it looks, so here's another little thing. Because sometimes, and you don't really with this, but sometimes you need those shapes to either follow them to echo out correctly or echo inward. So go in or out to a bigger or smaller shape, right? And echo the shape that you started with. Okay, it needs to be really more precise, right? And you don't hear, by the way, this looks good. But it just made me think of this. So what you can do is, let's, so I'm going to go here to path, offset path. Okay. Now I'm going to get this dialog box and you can go. So this is really big. So I'm going to go preview. That's not that big. Okay. So this is, I usually do it in points. Okay. Or you can go, if I put a negative in front of that and preview it, it goes inward. Does that make sense? Okay. So there's a whole bunch of reasons you might need. So again, we're going back here to this idea of manipulating shapes that we've started with and remanipulating them again, right? But it's another way you can do that. And I usually just go like, let's get rid of this again. Because I can't think in terms of fractions and decimals. My brain just doesn't get that. I just usually go, whatever it is, negative 10 point. And then go preview, which is, wow, needs a lot more than that. Let's try it again. Let's do 25 points. There you go, right? So I could adjust it in, I understand points. I don't understand decimals and all that. Does that make sense? Because sometimes I'll just do it and I'll go, maybe I need to go path. Remember, object, and then your path tools are right here. Offset path. That's fine. You know, maybe I'll take this one and go to some other color. It was on a different background. Maybe I change this to white. Maybe I come up here and I go effect. Where is it? Blur, Gaussian blur. Hit preview. You know, give it a little glow or something. See it? Okay, now some people will go, why don't you use, I don't know, glow filter or whatever. I don't even know if there is one in here actually. Let's see. I'm sure there is. But anyway, okay, there's a couple of reasons. Sometimes, and it's better than it used to be, but sometimes when you start using like that type of filter, and I don't know why, it can up the memory where it'll start getting a little sloggy. But for me personally, it's just like I don't want. Sometimes if it's just a simple effect, I don't really want it attached to each other in that way. I might want to move it around, and I just want to control it my own way. Does that make sense? And then sometimes a filter is a great solution. I mean, a glow filter on this would be fine. But there's just a lot of times where I like to have a lot of control over what I'm working on, my illustrations. That makes sense? So offset path is another way you can alter your shapes, your current shapes. Like this one. again, this effect, blur, Gaussian blur, just like in Photoshop. Then when I hit preview, I might soften this edge up a little bit. Maybe just like that. Let's see. Yeah, maybe just like that. Right? Now you got to dial it in just right, because a cast shadow like that will have a fairly hard edge, but I might want to just soften it a little bit, right? Make sense?
Yes.
Now, another thing I would do is like here. Oops. Did you use that tool to do the floor and all that?
Yes.
That's good. That's cool. It's a good tool, right?
Yeah, it helped a lot.
Okay, so this foot. Now, if I'm going to give things an outline, I'm probably going to really manipulate the line. Let's see if we can take this. That doesn't have a line on it. Yeah, if I was to give it a line, I'd probably give it a, a nice thin, thick kind of thing. And if not, I don't even think this kind of thing needs a line. When it's just a line containing it, not that that doesn't ever work, but then I go, do I need this? Let's see. I'd argue you really don't, right? And that's a stylistic thing. You can do whatever you want, but might give a little more information. This is going to be a really half-ass one. Okay. Let's see if I can just make a half-ass version of this. Might give that foot a little more shape. Then maybe I'd come in here. And maybe go. I can just get a hint here because I don't want to overdo this. The hell did that just do? We don't need that. And I'm just going to go, I think I'm going to put the same color in it. Then I'm going to go up here or down here to transparency. There it is. I'm going to go multiply. That's weird. Is that on the bottom? I don't know. That should go darker. That's weird.
I need to push it forward.
Oh, I know what it is. Yeah. It's on the wrong layer. Although it seems like it shouldn't be. Let's go to X. I'm just going to go way up here. Yeah, there it goes. And I would dial it in a little more than that, obviously, but I'm not going to get too crazy with it. To start to show that there's a little heel there or something, right? Now, maybe I'll take this. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And then I might take this and use the tool we just talked about and go path, offset path. And I'm going to go negative. This is probably only about 3 points or something, maybe. A little more. Let's go to 4 points. A little more. Let's go to 5. Let's see if that works. Yeah, that's probably fine. And I'm just going to go a little lighter on this. Okay, so I don't want that full. I want that on a line. And then I'm going to go a little lighter on this line. A little fatter. I'm going to pull it over here. First, I'm going to make sure this is on top. then right up here under our stroke tools, and it could also be under here under Windows where all our palettes live, I can pull up the stroke window, but I don't need to. I'm going to go right here, and right here, if you see it, it says dashed line, right? So I'm going to say 3 point. Let's just see what that's 5 points. And I can start to get the little stitching on the old school, whatever you call it, soles, right? And I can just build a couple of more little things in here. I don't need much. Now I'm going to group all this together. Oops. And I might even put like a little shape here. Oops. I'm trying to be really lazy about this. And this obviously would have to go up over. Let's get all this. And all these shapes are just, this would be a starting point, and I just kind of dial them in. I'd probably pull this out a little bit so it feels like it's shaping out around his ankle. And I know donuts don't have ankles. I get it, Josh. I got it. Oops. There. Close enough. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it looks cool, actually.
And then what I want to do is, now I made that. So now I'm going to go, okay, I'm going to lock all these together. Group them up here, either Command G or up here under Object. It's got ungroup or group, right? So now these are all living together. Now I'm going to take this one. And what are we going to do?
What?
Yep. Hold down Option. You know, and I'd have to adjust it over here. It's probably a little bigger. And also, I kind of like the idea of the feet sort of being like that. Does that make sense? Like a kid sits. He looks pretty terrified. By the way, I just said this in my other class. Has anybody ever watched that show called Goliath? Okay, the first season was awesome. Don't watch the second season. Okay? It's super disturbing. Like so disturbing, I can't get it out of my head. Like so disturbing, I can't believe they actually showed that on TV. Does that make sense? Now you're all going to go watch it. I shouldn't have said that, right? Don't watch it. It's super disturbing. Maybe it isn't to your generation. I don't know. It is to mine or to me.
And when you mean by disturbing, are you meaning like bloody?
There is okay. Just the idea of what's going on in that is hyper disturbing, but they show it super graphically, like in a way that I go, I wish I hadn't watched this. Like it's really weird. It's like infected my brain for the last 2 days. Like I wish I hadn't watched it. You know what I mean? Like I don't need that kind of crap. And the writing, everything's really cool and all that. And the first season was really cool. But like, I don't dig that that's too much for me, man. Okay. Does that all make sense? Yeah.
Yes.
Another thing I might do just because okay. So here's another thing. Do I need a line there? That one you might, maybe. I might, no, maybe not. Yeah, you might need it there. And I'm also wondering, like, could I do something like, let's try this. I'm just, to me, if there's going to be a line, I want it to be I don't know. You know what I mean? Thin, thick, like we did with that Pokemon thing where it's a beautiful, thin, thicky kind of thing.
One eye's thicker than the other.
Or just the line, the beautiful line quality, right? Like if look. Of course, I pulled up a whole bunch of crappy ones. Hang on. This one's not too bad. Like they thought about the thin, thick line work, right? They didn't connect the hair here, which is nice. They just sort of let it lift over. If you look at, there's nice, thin, thick line work. It's very thought through. And there's some coloring books that are, man, the line work on is beautiful. You know what I mean? They used to do them with, with a brush. But, now everything's done with Illustrator. And Illustrator's great at this. Let me see. God, it's weird. Usually I can pull up really good ones. These are all not that great. Hang on. Yeah. That's frustrating. You can find them really easily. This one's pretty good. This one of Ariel or whoever that is. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so what I was thinking though is maybe instead of doing that, maybe and I'm going to use my eyedropper here and sample this color. I'm going to make sure all this is locked. I mean, normally I'd know what layer you're on it, but it's not my illustration, so. So I just want to get this, the eye. Oops. I'm going to get rid of this one. I don't think you need that. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to group it. Command G. Maybe I can use that instead of a hard line. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Then if I go ahead.
Just mess with the thick and thin on the eyes.
Yeah, what I do with this is then I'll just mess around with the whole little thing I put there and see if I can get it to work. And then I look at it and go, okay, I need it over here too. Oops, it's on the wrong thing. Hang on. Now let's get this one. Get all that together. Oops. Well, let's get all this locked off. There it is. Then again, I'm going to pull it forward. I'm going to go arrange it forward. Take this. And then I don't have a hard line outlining it, right? And again, sometimes the line is cool. I love line, but I don't know if you need it on this one. Like here.
Avoid the hard lines, like the black ones for on the donut.
Yeah, my thing is like whenever, and I got to go and find some examples because we talked about this a little bit. I don't think you need it. Now that doesn't mean here and there, like I might not go, okay, here's a line, this one here, let's say. Let's ungroup this. This one I might just go, oops. And I might just go take this same color and build up that line. Actually, I lost the line, where it's just a darker value line of the color it's living with. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's a really common tool. You'll see it all. Look, I think I've said this before. Why do you get all these random? Okay, hang on. Tricks. You'll see these. There's also, let me see if I can find it with Mickey. Okay, so with this, softer, okay, you can see this illustration like in spades if you go down the cereal aisle. For some reason, they all use this style. I don't know why. It's weird. I mean, it works. But if you look at Mickey, look, the line, the containment line, in this case, is a darker version of the red of his pants, right? And then this is like a brownish version of this. They started with the yellow, right? So the color is living. Look at his mouth. That's not black. So what does that do? It softens everything up, right? So now sometimes a black line is cool, right? But if I want to get it a little more, if I want to push it a little more pro sometimes, or in the case of like what you're doing, where it's like, okay, I don't want to make this all about the line, but I need a little containment line there. Instead of going to black, I might go to a darker version of the color that it's sitting with. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then it's sort of, and here's what happens. And it's the way I try and draw and paint all the time in any medium. I want the line and color to marry each other. Okay. Where they just sort of create an image where you're not going, oh, that's an outline thing that's colored in. That it's just like this Mickey thing. You don't really think of it being sort of a line drawing because it's so soft, right? But
Would
go
you
down to
recommend-
cereal. Go ahead.
Would you recommend like a soft blue for the straight jacket outline then, or keep the black outline?
This could even maybe be, and it really depends on if it's going to work or not.
Like muted.
It's funny that I don't know why I think the word crazy is funny. I don't know why. And then crazy donuts is funny to me for some reason. Hang on. Let's take that and see what we can do with it just for a second. See, it still ends it, but it's not such a, it doesn't stick out so much. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Same thing here. Let's see if I can, by the way, it'll grab the, if you can get on it, it'll grab the line color. And it's, in this case, it's pretty subtle, but it still matters to me. Oh, that's why it went thinner. So let's go a little thicker here. There's just something about black that could get really harsh, right? And again, sometimes you want black. You want that real punchy black in there. Sometimes you want that too, okay? But if it's a containment line thing, then I'm going to try and, let's see if we can do this. Of course, now it's black again. Hang on. There we go. I want to go a little fatter here. I'm going to go up here to, okay, so these are kind of stepping into these. See this where it says, okay, so effect, it's filters and things like that, right? So let's go to Distort and Transform, and let's go to Zigzag and hit Preview, and I can slide this over and I can sort of dial in how zigzaggy I want that. And then down here it says corner or smooth. I'm going to go smooth because I'm just screwing around. And then it's how many segments I have. So maybe I'll do that. And then maybe I'll go, maybe go a little, because it's looking a little furry like I want. Now I'm going to see if it'll let me do this. I'm going to go to warp again. Oh, it will. Okay, cool. So let's go arch, try that. Yeah, arch. Then I can dial that in. Now we talked about this with type, didn't we? Yeah? Josh? Okay. So I just arch it a little bit because then I might go up here and go, maybe that becomes an eyebrow. And now I'm just going to take, I'm going to go to whatever you call it, reflect again. Let's get both of these. Oops. You know, and then I decide if I want to use it or not. Because we want this donut to look as terrified as possible, right? I'm starting to actually feel sorry for this donut a little bit. But you know what I mean? We could use something like that. We could go, if you had a circle. So these are just a simple little suite of tools right here. Effect, distort and transform. You could go free or pumpkin or pucker and bloat, hit preview. You know how many times I go to Target and I see some product with a pattern on it and I go, oh, that's the blah, blah, blah tool. And then they just duplicated it and they made a pattern out of it, right? And now it's on sheets and now it's on drinkware. Now it's on, you know what I mean? Or we could go all in that same suite, distort and transform, roughen, hit preview, and give you a little bit of a kind of random. And then I can go to absolute and it's a little more uniform. I can go to distort and transform, tweak. And I can dial these in. Now, sometimes some of these look like weirdly random. Sometimes I want weirdly random. Does that make sense? Sometimes I might have a lot of circles there and I'll just select all of them and give them all a little bit of offness, okay? Because I don't always want absolute control over this stuff. Distort and transform. Let's do twist. And then this one you dial in degrees and it'll affect it. Let's see if there's any other here. Free distort is just what it says. It gives you this window and you can kind of tweak it a little bit. It's another way to just screw up the shape. And then, okay, here's another thing I want you guys to understand. When you sometimes when you use these filters, you see that? Do you see that? How it's holding the outline of the original, what I started with? And you don't want to do this until you know that that's the right shape, okay? But if I go up here and I go to expand appearance, it will lose that original information and become a normal shape. That's going to come in handy later on, okay? I was just doing something where I had to do that. And there's a lot of tools in here. Go ahead. What's Josh going to say?
Does that work for type too? Is that the same thing?
Yeah, so if I go into type, so that's a good question. And let's put a fun typeface on it. For some reason, Illustrator does this thing that kind of makes me crazy. I have to go. Let's do Gothic. So if I come in here, because we talked about this, and we go to that warp effect, and I go arch. And I dial in whatever I want. Oops. There. Okay, so when I go here now, that's still in there. It's weird. There it is. See it? So it's still holding that information, right? Let's see what it looks like in preview. See, there it is in preview, which is up here, remember? View, preview, Command Y, which just gives you a wireframe of all your line work, right? But that's what it's actually holding, okay? Now I can leave it like that, but at some point I might need to not have it holding on to that information where it's just, okay, it's fine, it's done. And then again, I go up here to Object, Expand Appearance. Sometimes it just, you can use the expand. I don't know why they have two. And now it's just a bunch of, now it's just a shape. So now I can't go back to that. I can't go back to that filter and readjust it again. Does that make sense? But sometimes there's a point.
It's no longer type.
No, it's no longer type. It's a shape, and it's no longer holding that information from the filter. Now it's just a shape. Okay. And it actually comes in handy at some point, because sometimes it starts to complicate your illustration and you're like, I don't need that information anymore. It's if you don't need to go back to it. And if I'm doing like type like this, it's fine. If I need to do it again, it's just not that big a deal to do it again. You know what I mean? I can just create the type again and go back to the filter. It's nothing, right?
So, related question. I had type on mine that I wasn't able to package for whatever reason. Like a little notification came up when I tried to package it.
Oh,
and it said it just wouldn't do it. If I had expanded it,
yes, it would do it.
It would work. Okay.
And by the way, usually if I'm not sending, like we just talked about, if I'm just sending somebody a final thing or whatever, most people will outline all the type. Okay.
Okay.
Now, the package thing helped with that a lot. And the reason a lot of that used to happen, number one, again, I don't want people screwing with my stuff. But if I'm working with a good company like Disney or some creative company, you know, they might want to tweak. More than likely, if they tweak my work over at Disney or someplace like that, they're probably going to make it better. You know, because they're probably not going to do that just to screw around with it. They're going to go, oh, in our layout, it looks better like this, right? And we're going to use this typeface or whatever. The other thing is if you send, well, I mean, if you package something, you're sending somebody the fonts. If I outline them, I don't have to send them the fonts or anything. You know, and then you get into copyright stuff. I don't know if anybody ever comes after anybody for that, but I mean, you are giving them fonts without paying for them, right? So even when I would get style guides, like those ones I showed you guys the style guides, right?
Yeah.
Most of the time they would go, here's all the typefaces we use for this particular thing we're doing. 90% of the time, they don't give them to you. Okay. Because for Disney, that becomes a problem. Or like a company, that becomes a problem because now you're distributing this stuff and it's a copyright issue, right? So they're kind of going, hey, if you want the right typeface for SpongeBob SquarePants, it's this one. Go get it. You know, which to me is kind of bullshit. It's like, I don't want to go buy it. Just give it to me. You know what I mean? And I usually do, but it could cause problems. And stop eating crazy donuts, Josh.
No promises.
Huh?
No promises.
All right. Hey, is Mind's Eye, the head shop, still in Norwalk?
Yeah.
I just trapped you. I know you've been to Mind's Eye.
I've never been there. I always see it. And I was like, I should go in just to look at it.
No, the reason I'm asking, I know I'm going on all these tangents, but I'm into all this stuff right now. I loved underground hippie comics when I was a kid.
Right.
And Mind's Eye used to be over on San Antonio before they tore all those buildings down and they built newer buildings.
Uh-huh.
And it was the coolest head shop. It looked right out of a Cheech and Chong movie. Like it was all painted all crazy, and it was a little house. It used to be a house.
Yeah.
It was just cool inside. I don't think I knew much about the drug culture or anything. It was just like, this place is cool. And what's weird is I can find no pictures of it, which is weird to me. And then that's where I used to buy underground hippie comics, like in the early 70s, right? That's the only place you could get them, was in head shops, right? So Zap
Nice.
Comics, Crumb Stuff, Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers. And I'm going down this rabbit hole again on this stuff because I love that. That stuff had a huge influence on me, right? And psychedelic posters from the 60s and all that stuff. Rick Griffin, Crumb, S. Clay Wilson, all those guys, Stanley Mouse. And I'm trying to find historical pictures of that place. It's the only thing I've ever looked up that I can't find, which is weird to me because I would think that Mind's Eye I'd have a big, huge like mural of that when you walked in of what that place used to be, right?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, it was a really cool looking place and on the inside and outside. And that, by the way, in the early 70s was a total bust to have a high profile head shop like that. That was a bust. You know what I mean? Like they might come in at any moment and because they'll just go, all these people in here have dope. We know they do. So they'd arrest everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's weird to me. I can't find anything about it. And I've been going down this Gilbert Shelton rabbit hole, this Fabulous Furry Freak Brother rabbit hole for the last couple days. And these guys are like almost disappeared, man, except for Crumb. Like Gilbert Shelton, you can hardly find anything on him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then they tried to make a Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers animated thing. I just found out about like years ago. It was terrible. It was like all these stoner Hollywood dudes that think they'd get involved in it and be all cool, and it's terrible. But anyway,
Is that online? Is that on like YouTube somewhere?
I think it's on YouTube. It bummed me out. And then they tried to make a stop motion version of it, and that a couple of years ago. The problem with this is there's probably no market for this stuff. Because it was all underground hippie comics then. I mean, it was the only place you got them was in head shops and stuff, even then, or like hippie bookstores or whatever. So it probably had a very limited audience then. And now it's 40 years later or whatever. So like, it's pretty, but the stop motion one looked like it could have been cool. I think it's hard to make it now with the same sensibility. I just think it's hard to do.
Right.
Okay. What other questions? Does all that make sense?
Yeah, I did have one question. And I always struggle with the sub layers. Like when I was trying to make I don't even know how they are even made. So I'm trying to avoid them.
What the sub layers are. So if we look at this, let's go to this one where it says jacket. What it's basically doing is it's busting up every shape in that layer or whatever into an individual thing. I know a lot of people like to use that. I just never do. Okay. Now you can come in here and go, it should grab these. Actually, it should grab these. I never use them, so I'm not that good with them. But you can come in here and grab them or whatever. It's weird. It's not doing it. Wow, does that even need an outline? I don't think it does. What do you guys think? Somebody.
It looks good without the lines too.
Okay. Kayla.
Yeah, I think it looks fine.
I like it better without the line. Yeah?
Interesting.
I mean, it's up to you, but I like it better without the line. Then you have to get rid of it over here too. So anyway, you can go into the sub layers. Actually, I never do it, and you can adjust. Let me look into it, and I'll talk about it next time because I don't use that. Right?
They annoy me.
And yeah, they annoy me too. And then when you drop it down, it's sort of like remember when I said like if I want to select something back here and it won't let me get to it because there's stuff in front of it and all that. Like some people will use them for that reason, so they can go in and select things. But then I always just go this way. And then I can go back in here and select whatever I want when I'm in preview mode. I could go through all the different layers and go through it. So I just do it that way because to me, it's a more direct visual connection. Does that make sense? I'm not a big fan of like working like in that very technical kind of way where I'm like, oh, that's that shape. And then I'll move that up here and then I'll pull that. I just rather do it visually where I see it. Okay. That just works for me. Other people like doing that, right? But that's what it is. It's just all the components of what's on that layer sort of broken apart. Does that make sense? Does that answer that?
Yeah.
Okay. Man, I got a gnarly headache, man.
It's all that ranting.
Could be. No, I think that relieves the headache. I'm just on a rabbit hole of all this stuff right now. I'm like all amped out about it. Okay, I remember this. Where are you at?
I'm here.
What's this typeface right there? You remember?
Um,
Wait, let me load it. Hang on. Is that it? Does that look right? Yeah, that's it, right?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's kind of a cool typeface. I like that. Okay, so where are we at now? What do you think? I think it looks pretty good. What do you think?
I started working on just the shadows and a bit of highlights. I also added the syrup dripping down.
Yeah, I like that.
Mm-hmm.
I probably, hang on.
I'm still working on the shadows and highlights. I kind of just laid out a few just so I can get an idea of what it would look like.
So I might come in here. On a few of these spots here. I'd have to get it worked out, but let's go. I want to get this color. I want that custom color so I can adjust it. So I'm going to open up my swatches right here. I'm going to drag this color over here so I have it. See it right there in the palette?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sometimes it's tricky when you got a custom color and you want to do line work or whatever it is. It's just easier to throw it in the palette. But because what I want to do is I want to come in here and go, I think I'm going to go take this color. I want to go a little lighter value with it. That's not too bad. But I think I'm going to go, and then I'd smooth this out a little bit. It's a little funky looking. And maybe go, there's my custom color. I'm going to come down here. There's my custom color. Now here's the problem. I didn't lighten this up. That's my fault. I'm going to put another, let me do this. I'm going to lighten this color up. Put this one over there. That'll be easier. I'm going to go here. Go here. And I'm probably going to go. Shit, what happened? Screwed up. Hang on. I don't know what that is right there. That's weird. Hang on. I did something weird here. Let's go backwards. Why is it not applying my gradient? Oh, there it goes. You know, and maybe I pull this center one in here like we did before.
Mhm.
And then maybe this goes to 0. Or maybe just, I don't know, 20%. And then down here, we do what we did before. This can go to 0. Damn it. You know, start to get that little shininess to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I'd probably also adjust it so right there, maybe it got a little more of a highlight.
Mhm.
You know, and I'd sprinkle a couple of those around, not too much. Maybe just mostly off the top like that, where it spills down, catches that light right on that edge.
Hmm.
Do you see it just like my hand is?
Yeah.
And then here, I might take this because the light, where's the light coming from? Is it coming from, oh, it's coming from the upper right, right?
Yeah.
Like here, might put another shape here. And I dial that in better. I know that's a crappy shape. You know, just to show where that breaks right there. Does that make sense?
Hmm.
And then another thing I might do is come in here and go grab this shape. Oops. I'm going to ungroup it. And it's upper right, so maybe I'll come down. Maybe like that. I'm gonna go to my Pathfinder, cut that shape out. Some of these I'll probably have to get rid of, but that's okay. I'm gonna take this shadow value. And I'd pop it under there to give the handle a little bit of a shadow. You know, I might darken it slightly. I don't like this one here. That's stupid. Or here. I might, nah, probably, that's fine, probably. I could, you know, take this and maybe make it a little more noticeable here if I wanted to.
Hmm.
Could even put a little core shadow there if I wanted. You don't need that. And again, what color is this? Is that pure white?
And I'm
Doesn't
not sure.
quite
I
look
think
like.
so.
I want to pull it down just a hair. Because then if I do that, then I can also do what we just did over there and go, I'm going to take this. Let me go here. Or swatch. I'm going to go here, here. Go to pure white. Hopefully it'll show up. Pure white. Come down here. Go to Seto. Maybe I have to go a little darker on this one. I want it to look white, but I want to be able to see that highlight. You know, that's a little too much, but something like that.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Okay.
Hang on a sec, you guys. Okay. So, and then if I go, it's a little too hard edge, like let's back this out a little bit. It's a little too dark. Got to get it dialed up where it still feels white, but I'm still able to see that highlight. That's not too bad. So on and so forth. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And then here, maybe in here, look, let's do the same thing. Let's go, same thing. Wait, let's take let's take this. Let's take this color. This one here. No, this one. Might need it a little darker. Let's try that. So let's do the same thing here. So the light's coming from upper right. So again, I'm going to throw that in there. So I could leave it like that and just go the interior of the cup is a different color because the light's hitting it from here, which knocks that into shadow and catches it out here. He's going to knock some shadow into it too, but it gives it a little bit of depth. Does that make sense? Or I could reverse it. It might make more sense. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
All those little things are giving it a little bit of dimension, right?
Mm-hmm.
Does that all make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So you know what you're doing?
Yeah, I do. I just need to work on it a bit more.
Yeah. No, you're going fine on it. Yeah. Any questions?
No, I think okay.
Okay. Now this here too, one more thing. You can do that sort of cool thing. I'm going to outline all these. I'm going to go to path, outline, stroke. I'm going to ungroup these. Let's just pick one. And you can do that cool thing they did in that bear, in that bear thing. So let's pull it this way. Make all these white. Maybe pull another one here. Maybe even put, I don't know, a couple of them, right? So this one, I'm going to go to 0. This one, let's go to, I don't know, 50%. Then maybe this one I'll go to 0 again. And I can get a little more of a steamy look. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I think down the bottom, it should totally fade out. So I got to get it up a little above. That's better. See that?
Okay.
So you can really dial it in so it feels nice and steamy. Yeah?
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. That's good work. Ugh, Josh. Oh, wait, let me load the font. Hang on.
Oh, okay.
What I love about packaging is I steal all you guys' fonts.
Yeah, I don't know why it wasn't letting me add one of them. But
It
says
might,
it's on there.
it could be that it was a preview font or something.
Huh. Okay.
Like are these free fonts?
Yes.
Okay, sometimes there's funky weirdness with free fonts.
Yeah.
See, just like this. And by the way, not just free fonts. That's why I hate fonts, to be honest with you. Like, look at this one.
Yeah, that's the one that was
they have been found with some faults during validation. Then I have to click it and go, yeah, it's fine. You know what I mean?
Huh. Okay.
Which is weird. That's right, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And what I would do here is this is his belly right here, right?
Yeah, I'm probably gonna change that color to not
Yeah. And
blend
also,
in.
you know, another thing you can do here is you could go a little darker. Now, look, you guys can see my process sliders here, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Be careful with these, because see how when you slide into the darker value, you start just going into an ugly gray version of the color.
Hmm.
So, you know, I might come in here and adjust a little more warmth into it or something like that, right? Let's see what that looks like.
Is there a way to use like different color pickers, color palettes? I don't know.
What do you mean different color pickers?
Like closer to what they have in Photoshop.
The color picker in Photoshop?
Yeah, or like the palette. I don't know. Like the wheel, the color wheel.
Yes. Hang on, let me do something here. There's actually some really good color tools in here. So let's talk about it real quick. Now, I'm teaching this class a little different than I usually do, okay? I'm not jumping ahead too much, but I am showing you tools that I think slide into what we're working on in the moment that I think are fine. And if I'm ever throwing something in there where it's like, whoa, where's that coming from? Because I do try and keep this linear to a certain extent.
Right.
But I also do like it to be conversational, and I do like to work on these projects with you and help you push them.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Because we're going to talk about palettes here in a minute, which I want to go, I probably usually wait a little bit, but there's not really any reason to. I'm going to, you know, give this a little bit of thick, thin. You know, and I could use this sort of like an alligator belly to sort of break it up a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then one would go under his arm on a different layer. And I'd probably, yeah, to your point, I'd probably change the color of that, or change the color of the background.
Yeah.
Be careful when you use pure black. Is this the road?
Yeah. It's all still gonna go through like
Okay.
color changes.
Yeah, I get it.
But yeah.
And then, okay, so color. Okay, so there's a couple of cool things you can do that I think is really cool with Illustrator. So let's go up here. Yeah. So let's pick a color. Let's say it's this. Let's pick a really definitive color like that. One thing that you can do in here that I like, and I'll talk to what you were talking about, is you can go in here and go to color guide. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and this says, it says it right here, shades or tints. So if I wanted to go really quickly and go, I want to shade this, whatever, I can come in here and I've got my shadow values. Oh, it's underneath. I think it's underneath. Okay, what's going on here? Are they on the same layer? Huh, hang on. Why is that not changing? That's weird. Hang on. Now I've lost it all together. Hang on. Damn it. Oh, I know what I did. There it goes. I don't know why it wasn't reacting. I could come in here and I could go, okay, that's a shadow value of that. That's too much. Make it a little lighter. That's too much. Okay, so it gives me an instant bunch of colors, right? Now, here's what's cool about it, though. By going over here, if I pick this color, so what it's giving me here is whatever's dialed in. So on this little flyout menu, you know, I can put show tints and shades, show warm, cool, show vivid, muted. Or right here, I can just dial in like a complementary color palette. Left
cool.
complement, huh?
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, because it gives you, you know what I really love is a monochromatic one. So it gives me a whole, like if you want to do a monochromatic background, it goes boom, it just gives it to you right away.
Nice.
The other thing that's really nice about this is that you dial in, you can go, well, I want to try a high contrast palette, complementary, split complementary, analogous, monochromatic. You know, you have all these color theory things in here that it just boom gives you a palette. Now, what's great about this is you usually end up adjusting it, but when you're on a deadline or something, this gets you, it gets you moving fast.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I use it all the time. It's great. Is that kind of what you were asking me about?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
That's pretty close.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
There's another one in here.
Yeah.
Is that what you were talking about?
Yeah.
And now I can come in here and start dialing these things in, and it's still giving me a palette like this, create, explore. I don't want to do that. And I think you can do the same thing in here. I don't use this one. Usually I use the other one.
Mm-hmm.
You can save this, by the way, to your swatches if you're signed into your Adobe account, and like you can pull this up in like InDesign or pull it up in another, and it just saves it into a palette.
Yeah.
But you have to be signed in, okay? And then I don't want to explore. This is kind of cool though, because you can go here and just, these are just cool color palettes that I think people just pop in here or whatever. Like this blue one's cool. Literally, it's cool. See that? Create, and then, so you can dial these in. And I think there's a way you can do it in here too, where you're doing the, that's the palette. See, I can go right here, name it, and then I can save it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I can tint it, you know, but this same idea lives here. Yeah, I don't care about that. Okay. This is the same thing, only now here's your monochromatic, here's your triadic, here's a complementary. Then I can move these around and adjust these. I can move them with sliders around down here and adjust them. There's a lot of interesting things you can do with this. Okay. And it's just, if you just type in a search for, have you ever seen this?
Yeah, I have a bunch of themes that I've made. I don't end up using them, but they're cool to make.
Yeah, I get it. I use them all the time. Or here, we could go. Let's say this one. I hate it when they do that. Hang on.
Yeah, it's like not an image. It's a
It's like a web beat.
web page.
I don't know what it is. Let's see if it'll let me do it. Oops. See if it'll let me do it here. God, that's so annoying. Let's just do this. I don't think it's a byproduct of them trying to keep you from taking their images, but if it is, it's really stupid because you can just do it anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you've probably done this too, but I think this is important. If I go, where is it? They keep moving this around. Where did they move it to? God, they just moved this again, and now they moved it. Oh, here it is. Extract theme. Why would you do that? Okay. Why would you use such a stupid name for this? But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
now I'm going to take this and drag it here, and it's automatically going to give me a palette. Okay. Which is really useful. Okay. And then I can take this and go, I can save it, or I can go, this is set on colorful. I can go bright. I can go muted. I can go deep. That's really a nice palette right there as a starting point. Dark. And it's just going to extract whatever color information out of it I ask it to do, right? Really cool if you're doing branding, really cool if you're doing packaging, really cool if you're doing graphic design. I mean, it's cool for a lot of things, but like I know for packaging, this came in really handy because sometimes I go, oh, I'm going to start working on some fall related stuff. And I might be walking around because I'd walk around the forest or whatever, taking a walk or whatever, or jogging or whatever. And I'd have my camera with me and I go, wow, that's really interesting. And it might be like I have a picture of it somewhere. There was a tree over in Blue Jay and it had grown this really beautiful, like orangey green moss on this really beautiful tree. And then the tree leaves were like this hyper acidic, like lemon green. It's a really interesting thing. So I just kind of cropped in on those colors and the textures, and I took a picture of it, brought it back to my office, on Monday or whatever. And then I used this to extract a theme out of it and then kind of tweaked it a little bit. And then I had that image and I put that on the style board and then this palette. And I remember we kind of tweaked it around a little bit. And then I'm like, that's our palette. That's our fall palette. And it was a really beautiful palette. You know what I mean?
Nice.
And what I like about that is you're not just going to the typical like this. And there's nothing wrong with this, but there was something about that was such a unique color combination and such unique textures. Because I remember I brought a lot of pictures in of just close-ups of the textures and then one further back from the tree. And I showed it to the team and I go, look at these textures. We're doing this palette. We're going to dial it in. And then we're going to kind of interpret these textures into beautiful patterns and things like that. So it was coming from nothing. Okay. And the reason that's important to me as a designer is when I come in as a designer, or in this case, a creative director or whatever, that's what I want to drive the team to do. Because what they'll do, the marketing people will come in and they'll just go right to a typical fall palette. And I go, this is still a fall palette, but it's much more sophisticated. And the thinking behind it is much more sophisticated. And it's going to look much more high end. And it's going to look much more elevated than what they're trying to do. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, these tools are great. Does that all make sense?
Yeah.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then in here, oops, I don't need this. Now I can go up here. I don't want to do that right now. So this guide, I give these just a little bit of a dimension. You're probably already thinking that, right?
Yeah.
These little bumps on them or whatever. What's going to be on this? Go ahead.
I was just going to add some gradient to it.
I'd be careful with that.
Yeah.
You got to be careful with gradients. You got to really use them selectively, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and the way you're thinking, it might be completely different than the way I'm thinking. I mean, it might be fine, right? One thing, I don't know. Let's see. I don't usually do this. Where are those dots? Are they all?
They're on their separate layer.
Are they grouped?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. Maybe if I was going to do that. Okay, well, this might be a good spot then if you're going to do that, I think, to maybe go, what the hell's going on here? Oh, I see.
Oh, it did. Yeah.
So what I would do here is I would go, here's what I would do. I grab this. What's weird is it's not showing it to me. Oops. There it is. So I'd hit Command H, so it wasn't giving me the information.
Mm-hmm.
So what I would do is come up here and go Object, Path, Outline, Stroke. Then I'd go over here to my Pathfinder and hit Unite. And now they're just shapes. Got all that information in there, right?
Oh, cool.
And now maybe I'd come in here and then go, if I was going to do that, I might come in here and do what we talked about before with my gradient and go Freeform gradient. Remember? Oops.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how I get this weird color. And I could come in here. I don't know why it's not letting me do what I want to do. I could pick colors and all that kind of stuff in here, but I'm going to go. Do you remember this tool, the Freeform gradient tool?
Yeah, I remember you went over it. I'd probably have to watch the video again.
Yeah, but I don't know why it keeps changing my color like that. Well, maybe because these are all grouped. That's probably why. This is the tool that I would use. I wouldn't use the standard gradient because this tool I can dial in like this side subtly goes darker, and then it's, you know, and then I could just have it highlighted right there and it'll feel more natural. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Don't go to the stock gradient because they haven't had that tool in there that long.
Mhm.
And it's really good. And I think a lot of people have forgotten about it already. I'm just using this color. You could change it. It doesn't matter. I'm just grabbing what's easy.
Mhm.
And here you go. Here's your points. So I could click this. I could grab the right color. Get rid of this maybe. Get rid of this. And then I can come in here and go lines. And I can draw these lines down here. Let's let me do it. Hang on. Anyway, you can draw a line there and it'll just follow that gradient. Okay.
Yeah.
So you can dial it in so it looks a little more sophisticated than just a kind of washy one, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But, you know, I'd have to go in and dial in the color, which is no big deal. Because you still have it here, just like you do the other one, you can dial them in. But you can, the thing that when you do a line on, I don't know if you remember this, it'll actually mirror the edge itself. Right? So if I draw a line here with that tool, like right here, if I just start dragging a line, it's going to mirror this edge right here.
Oh, right.
Which is really nice because then I can sort of dial in turning the form, you know, and I might even just go in and do 2 or 3 of these and sort of just reshape or resize them so I don't have to make all of them.
Mhm.
Right? And then I have enough variety of shape. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I like this building back here.
Thank you.
Now a little more. You should have put Capitol Records in there. Right?
Yeah, that would be a good one to have.
That's what this building reminds me of a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
See, I got a tangent right there.
Yeah.
And then what's the texture going to be on this guy?
I'm not sure how to add like that kind of texture yet.
Okay, so there's a couple things here. One of them is like if I wanted to just put a general, I think we talked a little bit about this. Let's fatten this line up a little bit. Hang on. It's weird. What's that doing? Illustrator's fighting with me today for some reason. It's seeing that. Oh no, I don't want that. I don't want that tool. Just want this. It's weird. It keeps something's going on with my Illustrator. I don't know what it is. Hang on. And then I don't know why it keeps showing this color. That's not the color. Hang on a sec. I'm going to do something real here, quick here. I'm just going to reopen it. I don't know what was going on with that.
Yeah. Mine keeps telling me that my drivers are not compatible.
Are you on Windows?
Yeah.
Sucks for you.
I know. That's what I
That's
feel like right
Windows
now.
crap, dude. That's Windows crap.
Yeah, everything else
I've
is
never had a
fine.
Mac tell me that.
I've never seen that before either. So yeah.
I love it when Windows goes like, well, you have this kind of graphics card? Do you have this? Do you have that? It's like, what am I, a programmer? Like, I don't know what any of this crap is. I go, and then I always go, how come when I buy a Mac, it never asks me stupid questions because it already has stuff in it to run this stuff.
Right.
Why would I have to go and put another graphics card in something because I'm going to do graphics or I'm going to do art or whatever, or video editing? Okay, let's try this again. So, oh God. Let's get rid of this. Let's get this. Oh, wait, is that a gradient? There's no gradient.
Yes.
Oh, there is. That's what it is. Thanks a lot, Josh. You made me look like a fool. Okay, let's go. I'm just gonna guess it. Don't need that right now. Okay, that's what it was. It was just that it had a gradient. It was picking up the gradient, and I was trying to adjust it. But it should be. Yeah, there you go. Still not. It's gonna do a darker value. I don't have time to screw around with it. Okay, so like we talked about this a little bit. So if I go into, because I want to talk about this today anyway. If I go into the brushes palette right here. Okay, so there's kind of my stock brushes, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if I go out here, I think it's here. Yeah. And I go open brush library. And in this case, I'm going to go artistic and calligraphy. I could just tell it to open this palette, but I'm going to go to, I know I like this one. Well, not calligraphic, sorry. I like artistic. Artistic, charcoal pencil. You know, and I can start dialing in some texture this way, right? That's the wrong color, obviously. But do you understand my point?
Yeah.
Okay, now, you know, and there's other things in here, okay, that I can start getting some nice texture with. So this, I might dial back a little bit or whatever. I'd actually get the right color in there. Okay, but so if I want to go, so I'm going to give you guys a bunch of brushes and a whole bunch of different stuff, okay? And some of them have README files and things like that with them that'll sort of tell you what they are. Half tones, some of them are half tones. Half tones might be fun on this. And then some of them are like this. Let's make another line. So I've already, okay, so if I wanted to load these ones I'm going to give you, what you're going to do is you're going to go back to the same thing where, it's, you know, you can, I think you can do it from any brush palette. And then you can see you've got some nice sort of textured brushes in here. You see these? Mm-hmm. Okay. Now they can give you sort of an ink line or they can give you a texture or whatever. If you fatten them up, they give you a texture. But the ones I'm going to give you, so if you go here and then you go open brush library and then you go other library, that's where you'll load the ones I'm going to give you. Okay, and you'll see the actual file. It'll have like an old version of Illustrator, and then I think it goes up to CS6. Just use that, and you'll import that AI file. And what you'll get then is you'll get another palette, which is like this one. Do I still have them here? Hang on. Let me see if I can. Oh, I'm in a different file. That's why. So let's do it. Let's go brushes. I'm going to go open brush library, other library. I'm going to go Grave Etcher. Let's just try that. Here they are, Grave Etcher. See where it says CS5? I'm just going to use CS5. I don't really think it matters. I'm going to double click it. And there's the palette, okay? So what this palette is it literally gives me a bunch of etching brushes, right? I'm going to give you one that's an etching. I mean, there's a bunch of them. I forgot the other one I've been using. Oh, artistic ink. So there are a lot of ink brushes, just ink strokes and things like that. And then it gives you all these like these etching kind of tooly looking things. Hang on. So I can, you know, I can dial these in. And there's a lot of interesting ones in here. I use them all the time. And I don't just use them for etched looking things. That's what I'm doing right now, actually. I'm doing a project that looks etched, but I use them for all sorts of things because they're sort of random textures, right?
Mhm.
And they've got all these, look at these ones. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, look. This is where they came from. So they're really for, and it'll give you some sample files in there, but what it's really for is this particular one, anyway, this one. Is to do this kind of etchy looking stuff,
Mhm.
right? Which, and the reason I'm doing this right now, I'm doing one that looks etched. I've been kind of doing stuff like that for the restaurant anyway, but now I'm doing a much more illustrative version of it. And part of the reason I'm doing it this way is that and you know, she'll start using it for whatever. But if she goes, hey, we have a event, a brewery thing or brew fest or whatever, if she decides to go, because I painted that other one for the backdrop for when she does that for the booth, I might go, hey, let's use this one. I can blow this up to 9 feet wide if I want, or I can make it this big. You know what I mean? So it's very versatile, right? And if you see here, do you see how they're using that? They're using clipping masks and things like that and it's in the folder that I'll give you. You can take it apart and see how they built it. It's just clipping masks with these brushes. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But that's a really nice tool set, right?
That's
and then I've got the artistic ink one. I've got I got a gouache one. I'll give you that. I got a bunch of these. I got the printer's tool set. I'll give you that. I think I have this vector tone one, which is all half tones and stuff like that. I think I have dry goods. I'll check. Because I used to make these myself, and I go, man, these things just aren't that expensive. I might as well just buy them. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I have a couple other ones. I'm thinking about buying this one, this woodcut one. Look at that.
Oh, nice.
You know, and then because I want you guys to start playing around without spending $100 or whatever. And then I'll show you how to make brushes later on. Anyway, look, they got a wax and oil one, which is really cool. So if you look here, gives it this kind of look. So originally it's just standard brushes like that, and then they just applied these to it and it gets that grease pencil look.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And by the way, you can freehand in Illustrator. You know, people don't really realize that you can freehand in Illustrator. Right? Like the one I'm doing right now for the restaurant, I'm part freehanding it, part, you know, Bezier curving it, part, you know, I'm knocking things out to get more organic looking stuff. Actually, you get something like this. Because I just stumbled on this because I had this etching thing in my head, and then I stumbled on something. I go, wow, that's almost exactly what I was thinking. So I got it for inspiration.
Mhm.
But look, and I've been looking at it. I looked at it and I go, these are grave etcher brushes. So this will be a really good example of how you can use them. Hang on.
You know, I would really like to see what you were just talking about, those brushes, to take one of your sketches that you do all the time and use that texture brush.
I can do that. I'll do a
Yeah.
video of it. You want me to do a video of it?
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
Okay. But look. Yeah. Oh, let's give it a white backer. Hang on. See what I mean?
It's cool.
So I'm basically, that's what I had in my head for the restaurant. I'm doing an image of the restaurant. And then I stumbled on this. Actually, I stumbled on this because I read that there's a studio out in Joshua Tree. And I go, that's cool. And then that was their logo. And I showed it, and it was cool because I showed it to my girlfriend. I go, this is exactly what I'm thinking. But if you look at it, it looks to me like it is, because some of these brushes I can recognize, like this one.
Mhm.
And there's a couple other in here I was looking at. I go, that's for sure. Like right here, that one, that go dark to that starting to thin out on the other side. It's Grave Etcher. And then you go and you make some organic shapes in front of it, you know, so on and so forth. Okay. And then like the way I do stuff like this is I go in and I sort of just freehand it. Then I do another, and then I just lock that off. And then I take a white, because you can't, at least I've never been able to find a way to do rough erasers in Illustrator. So what I do is I just get whatever brush and I dance over the top of the dark mass with white, right? And then what I do is I do what I just did on your dinosaur where it had all that line work. I outline all the artwork, then I unite it, and then I make it into a compound path. And I do the same thing with the top layer and I punch it right through it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I'll do a video of it just like Kayla was talking about.
Cool.
Actually, I'll do a video of just a couple of different things. I'll just riff. It'll probably just be a half hour or something, right?
Mhm.
But that's a really nice effect, okay? And that's what these brushes are for, however you want to use them, okay? Now, again, don't get stuck in and go, I can only use these when I want them to look like a etching. No, you can't. You can use them for all kinds of shit. You know, because they'll look cool for all kinds of stuff, okay? This is a really nice job on this, by the way.
Yeah.
It's a really clean, nice job. Okay. All right, Josh, do we have any other questions?
No.
I've got to bundle all this stuff together once and for all. I've got them scattered all over the place, so I need to bundle them all together and then I'll put them up. And some of them have like vector coffee stains, like little coffee rings. Like there's just a lot of cool stuff in this stuff. And I used to, by the way, don't get in the head's mindset of like how I used to be, where I'm like, oh, that's cheating, man. I'll make my own stuff. It's like, why? It's like, it's not about that tool. It's about how you use it. Because I can guarantee you right now, there's nobody within 500 miles at a school right now or more who A, even knows that, and B, knows how to use it to the level of what I just showed you. They don't, I'm telling you. Okay. Well, I see what comes out of Illustrator classes. It's pathetic. Okay. It's almost useless, which is why I love this class, because I love vector. I like everything, but what do you want to? I do. I kind of like everything. But I think vector's a really exciting program. Don't you think?
Yeah.
It's fun. It's just, it's different than.
That's what I like about it. Dude, once you get like
Nice.
into it, like fast at it, I can like, sometimes I'll give myself an assignment just for myself, just because I want to screw around in Illustrator.
This.
It's fun.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Oh, wait a minute. Hang on. Oh, shit. Hang on. Let me close this one.
And I'm assuming you can add gradients to those textures as well, right? To
If
make
you
them fade off.
yeah, usually you can add a gradient to a line. You can do that.
Mhm.
But if it tells you you can't, then just outline the stroke and then it becomes a shape and then you can put a gradient in it.
Okay.
Hang on.
Ooh.
Well, I like that gold. I like that gold. Very California. Anytime you get into a burnt orange palette, I'm in. Burnt orange is my favorite color.
Very specific. Like it.
Did I tell you guys where you can find the perfect 70s burnt orange?
I don't think so. Where is it?
Watch the old Brady Bunch show, and when they're in the kitchen, look at the backsplash. It's the perfect 70s burnt orange.
Fun fact of the day.
It's perfect. It's a perfect 70s burnt orange because it was in that era, and that those colors, avocado green, burnt orange, all those things were,
Okay.
Okay, so you're building it, yeah?
Yeah, so I'm still working on it. I already got like the foreground dolphin done too.
What's
so.
going to be in the sky?
I have clouds. If you go back to the images that I gave you, I have the finished final rough. So
The one that's the comp?
I think so.
Color comp?
Not the color comp, but the rough. Or that's just a messy version, but I have the actual
There
drawing.
should be messy version. That's the drawing.
Yeah, so I'm going to do that.
Okay, good. The thing I like about this is you got to make sure that, that they're sort of very styled. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's just in general. Like you see that all the time. That's where a lot of kind of early illustrations fall apart is the clouds, right?
Yeah.
And then, okay, so is this guy going to be this color? Like greenish?
Yeah, if you go back to the original, I did a little gradient. So it's kind of like let me see.
And then what I would do towards the end, I'd get some real, and you're probably already thinking this. Yeah, you're starting to do it here. I get some of that really glistening yellows and things like that, right?
Make it shiny, wet.
Just, being, so it's just, and then I might even put like a little, I don't know. I probably look at some some surf photography, because that's where some of those surf photographers are amazing. And they're kind of selling the idea of golden sunsets and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Surfing and blah, blah, blah. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
But you're starting to do it already here. That little glinting that's on there. So what do you think? It's fun to build shapes in here, don't you think?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I'm really slow at it, but I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, that's everything.
Yeah.
The thing about Illustrator that's weird to me is how you can get so fast in it. Okay. And it can really, again, it's another, what I like about, I like it anyway, because it's a unique look to itself. But I also like it because I think I've told you guys this. Sometimes I would get stuff that come across my desk and I go, what are we doing? Well, we want to add something into this. And I go, okay, well, how much money we have? We have 20 cents. And I go, okay, well, we got to do an activity book or something because that's all that's going to work. And then I just bang that out in Illustrator because I could do it so fast in Illustrator. I could do it in a day or two, right? I think I told you guys I did a flashcard set. It was 26 illustrations in, I think I got it on Tuesday, approved, and I finished it by Wednesday or Thursday. That's 26 illustrations, okay? And some of them are a little wonky. They're fine, but and some of them are cool. Most of them were cool, but that's why I did it in that, obviously, in Illustrator, because I could, and by the way, just like we talked about, I might have been 10 cards into this job. And I remember I totally had a gun to my head on that job. I had to get it done, to get it to the printer or whatever. And I could go, okay, I got this what's S for? S for strawberry. Okay, I can take the, oh, wait a minute. I can grab that halftone thing I did in D and I'll throw it behind it. And I'll make a big burst behind it. And then I'll go grab that water thing I did and I'll do this and I'll do that. And I go, blah, 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 and I'm done. And I keep cannibalizing everything I made already. But if you looked at it, you wouldn't notice it. You know what I mean? So I'm cannibalizing anything I can to get this thing done faster, right? All right. So do you have any questions?
No, not right now. I think
Okay.
most of those got answered with Josh's, actually.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, Josh thinks he's all fancy now. So tired of Josh's thinking he's a dandy or something. Oh, okay, good. Where you at?
Right here. One sec.
I'd lose this outline here.
Yeah. I didn't take out the outlines yet. I just wanted to see
Oh, okay.
how
That's
they
fine.
would all
You're just
look.
working on it.
Yeah. I wanted to ask about for feedback on the animals, if they're positioned fine, or should I move them somewhere else before I kind of put in details?
I think the position's fine. What you're going to need to get to here, here's how I would do it. Okay, so like these creatures or whatever, I don't know if we talked about this. I'd have them half submerged. Does that make sense?
Okay. Yeah.
And here's a good way to do that. Okay, hang on. Let me show you something really quick. This is just a good way to think of this. And I have to get it here. Hang on. I have to find it right here. I have it, but I just got to get to the page. Probably. Here. What the hell is that? Hang on, I put some stupid advertising thing on here. Hang on. Damn it. Man, that's annoying. There it is. See that alligator on the right?
Yeah.
Silhouette, surface break line, texture, animal.
Okay.
Right? Only you're going to do it with
Yeah.
color, right? But that's a very good way to look at that. Okay. It's also a very good way to think graphically as a draftsperson or whatever. Simplifying these things in that way, right? And then it's got that little water ripple coming out. It's perfect. I would just do that. Okay. He didn't invent it.
All right.
So, you can use this nice bright blues that's coming up. It'll have some pattern on here and then just shadow out that bottom with a gray multiply layer, right?
Yeah.
Boom. Then you got water.
I
Any
also
other?
wanted to ask,
Go ahead.
how would you, since I'm going to take out the lines later on, how would you separate kind of like the nose from the rest of the head?
What's your major? Illustration?
Graphic design.
Wow, really? I get
Yeah.
man, a lot of graphic designers kill it in this class, man. This is pretty smart thinking the way you're doing this.
Yeah. I'm gonna have later on I'm gonna put like a light coming from above, and it's gonna light up the front half of her face. So I was wondering how I was gonna separate the nose to make it look like she actually has a nose.
Okay, so there's a couple things here. One thing you can do is you could go on, I'm going to say the lights to the upper right. There's a couple things. I could put a shape on here, and I'm just going to, you could do it with a gradient or whatever. And again, this might be something I did with a, actually, I don't think I'm going to do it with a gradient. Hang on. Let's do this. Hang on. Yeah, I'll do it from here. And then I'm going to take your flesh tone here. I want to push a little more red into it.
Okay.
because usually the nose, you can get away with warming up the nose a little bit. Okay, I do it whether I'm drawing, painting, anything. I usually warm the nose up a little, but I don't want it that hard edged, obviously. So I can just come in here, maybe go. Oops. And get it sort of soft. And I can start to darken that a little, but I got to make sure I don't get too red. So I can start to separate it there. I can start to come in here and go this. And I dial that in more, obviously. Here, I might say that, like I said, that there's a I'll pull this back, and I'd have to dial all these in. Okay, you understand that, right?
Yeah.
I'm just doing it very quickly. Where's my, here it is. I'm going to go to my transparency layer, and I'm going to pull this down a little bit. Now, I might have to soften that edge up a little bit too, but I would put in that, you can see how this side of my nose is darker?
Yeah.
I would just use that.
Okay.
Okay. That's what I do. And again, I'd probably have to soften this up. I'd have to dial it in. And I wouldn't put too much. The other thing you can use that I you know, not just me, everybody does this, but I'm going to go, the light's up there. I'm going to get a little cast shadow off the nose in here. And so what am I doing? I'm building all the shadow values to shape the nose. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Why does that not let me grab the nose shape? There we go. And I'm crudely knocking this in, but you can make it look pretty good. So this, you're going to get a little cast shadow off the bottom of the nose. So if you get a little cast shadow here, warm it up a little here, and then a cast shadow there, it shapes out the nose. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And you dial in, so you can already see it starting to work, right?
Yeah.
And then the other thing I do to reinforce that now, to really shape this head out, is I'd go in here. Because why? There's an eye socket in here, correct?
Yeah.
There's an eye socket in here. And I'd use my shape to, or my Pathfinder tool to clip that end right there, but I don't feel like doing it right now. So now let's go take this and this, pull this over here, pull this here. Oops. What is that? That's a hair shape, right?
Yeah.
I'll put that back in, tell it to go back. That's nice. That, see how that clarifies the edge of the face?
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm going to pull these forward. I'm going to grab this again. And then I'm going to have to dial them in, just like I always do. And in this case, I might just try, I might soften them a little, just a hair. And in this case, I might just go to the transparency. So I don't need it too dark. Just start to get those face shapes sort of, see how it's starting to read?
Yeah.
So what you want to avoid is what people do. What I always say about things like when you're drawing an eye or painting an eye, and you're basically painting here, right? You're actually painting all the shapes around the eye that define the eye, right?
Okay. Yeah.
And when you're doing the nose, the same thing. Like, you know, at this angle, you're not going to see nostrils or anything, but you are going to get that cast shadow, which shapes that out. And then you're going to get a little, you know, darker value here. And then again, you can warm up the tensure on the nose a little bit. Mine's a little too pinky. I'd probably dial that in a little more. Let's get. I mean, you're halfway there. And then I'd make sure that I had some hair maybe going over, you know, I'd soften that transition there. Maybe I'd get another thing you might want to do. I'm going to get this. Hang on. Let me get this color. is, let's put this here, let's put this here. I'm gonna go back to my swatches again. I'm gonna drag your custom color in there because I want to be able to use it. And then I'm gonna go, I want a line here. Go back into my custom color, and I know it's gonna match your hair color. And I'm gonna go and maybe just get a little more blocking this, like the hair is kind of going up over it.
Mhm.
So that, you know, and I probably even might cover a little of that, I don't know. And then I also would go, okay, I'm going to come here, get my smooth tool and try and get rid of some of this, stupid Siri, some of this angularity on the hair here.
Mhm.
So I'm going to soften all that up. And then I'm probably going to grab this again. Now only as a line now. And I might drop, you know, break once you put in the hair mask, which is exactly how you're supposed to do it, then I might drop in a few stray, you know, hairs aren't connected. And see how that'll start to loosen up the hair a little bit?
Yeah.
And then eventually I'm going to go probably, let's take this. And maybe here. You know, and I'd have to figure out how I want to do this stylistically. But basically, I'm going to get, again, I'm going to smooth this out. And then I'm going to go, yeah, maybe I'll, you know, maybe I do it with a gradient or I don't know. But let's go a little, you know, I'm going to get a little shine on that hair. And I would do that cooler stylistically. I wouldn't do it like that. You know, and then I might even go here. Why does that keep doing that? No, here. There it is. That's not a good shape, but I'm going to use it anyway. And maybe just here and there. I don't need a lot of it. Come on. That's a little too dark, so I'm going to pull it back. And I would dial in the color. I wouldn't go with the transparency. So what I'm doing here is then I'd start, I'd define this hair mask with that dark, the highlight here, and I'd put a few stray hairs across her face. And see how it loosens it up?
Yeah. Yeah.
See, it's starting to read. And I haven't done crap. I mean, what did we spend on this? 7 minutes? Right? But think about when you're designing these things, you know, because what people do is they'll start coming in here outlining the nose and all. That's not going to work. You're thinking of it correctly. Like you're dropping in all your shapes. That's what you want to do, right? You want to lock the eyes together with that dark value because there's a socket in there. The nose is going to cast a shadow that defines the bottom of the nose. The other side, that's going to define that side. Little warmth, you're out. And then the same thing with the lip. Upper lip is a little darker. This one's a little lighter. And then you get a cast shadow right under that bottom lip. And the mouth is fine. You don't need to do anything to that.
Yeah.
This looks, I think it looks really, it's going to be really cool. I think. Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm planning on adding I was thinking about the background this past weekend. I might add like people as the background. I'm not sure yet though. Because it looks kind of empty.
The background, I'd probably, the first thing I do is maybe drop a value or color in there and just see, you know, see where it goes. I don't think I think you want to keep this really designy and not, it gets a little dangerous if you start, because you say put people in there. Is that what you said?
Yeah, but
it gets a little dangerous when you, okay, so when you go, this feels very designed to me, okay? And that's what I like about it. Okay. And when you get into this, and hey, it's this public place, there's people back there. Now you're starting to exit the design thing and going, you don't need a bunch of people back there. You probably just
Okay.
need some design solution back there that's very simple.
Okay.
Very simple. Okay. And also, by the way, this type or the type is going to eat up some of this.
Mhm.
So one thing I might do is put a color. First thing I do is I'd probably put a block of type here. That's the information, some of the information maybe,
Okay.
you know, and see if that, you know, because type is part of your design tool set, right? I love type and stuff. It's why all my sketches have writing on, because I like notes and typography and writing and all that kind of stuff, right?
Mm.
Okay, does that all make sense?
Yeah.
I really love the way you're approaching that. And you can see how simple it is to just finish it out, right?
Mhm.
Okay, good.
Oh, did you find out how to wrap like stripes on the shirt yet?
No,
Or-
I got to do that. I did think about it. I just got to do it.
Okay.
I'll do it. And I know I already know it. That's just driving me up the wall. It's like, I already know that. I just can't access it because I don't do it that much in this program.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. That's really good.
Okay, thanks.
It's pretty good. Where you at? You here?
Yeah.
And this was for what? I forgot.
Airbnb.
Oh, Airbnb. Okay, this is
Yeah.
way better, dude.
Thanks.
Yeah, don't you think?
Yeah, I just had how do I make the like mountains a little bit more realistic and like the tree with like the
Okay.
shadow?
Mountains are just like anything else. I'm going to move this up here for a minute. Oops. So they have mass. So one thing you can do is they're going to have and I would cut my shapes out using my shapes that are already here, like I always do, probably. Come on. There you are. There we are. So I'm going to smooth these out a little bit. So these are going to have, sometimes you know, so you're going to start getting these shadow values breaking up the, now sometimes they go really cool.
Okay.
You might want to play with that. Sometimes, you know, they usually do go really cool, actually. Push them to the back. So, you know, and I'd have to shape them a little bit.
Yeah.
So they're going to have, you know, they're just like anything else. When you see mountains from distance, you'll see a light and a dark pattern, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
So that'll give you another layer. You can also like, maybe like these are way back there.
Yeah.
Right. So I might go in here and cool this off a little bit. And again, I'll dial this in. I actually want them pretty neutral. See what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the values aren't very far away from each other when things are further apart. So your shapes are going to be closer together in value when they're way back there.
Okay.
But see how that just set it back further?
Yeah.
Another thing you can do is maybe get just anything to make shapes. Hang on. Let me see if I have a good, do I have anything for this? I might just kind of come in here and go, maybe add a tree line up here to break up this edge.
Okay. Just to give it more detail, more pop.
Just to break up the edge. I'm always trying to break up silhouettes and things.
Okay.
And I'd probably even come in here and maybe even get don't know if I have, oh wait, I might have one here. Maybe some kind of brush. Ah. Might even just use the line that's already there, but actually let's do that. Let's go pink and go that color. Now I'm going to go back to my loose brush or my rough brush. A little more. And see, I can sort of break up that edge if I use the right kind of brush.
Yeah.
That it's still, I still have to play with it a little bit, or it might be a different brush, might not be this one. Maybe it's that one that I talked about earlier where I go artistic charcoal pencil. Has to be the exact same color too. But I'd have to dial that in. Another thing you can do, by the way, when you're doing something else, this is good reference. If you're doing a vignette of something, let's put it on a different sheet. Where the hell did that come from? Okay, so here's what that just did. I don't know. I don't remember doing that, which is weird. Tabloid, but look. That's weird. It only says one artboard. That's weird. God, something's going on with my thing today. There it is. Okay. If you're doing something and you want a vignette behind it, do you guys know what I mean?
Like a curve, or what do you mean?
Just like a fun shape.
Oh, okay.
And you got to, let's say you got a character standing in front of this. I'm going to soften it all up. You know, some kind of amoeba shape. A lot of times I'll do something like this because it'll give it, and by the way, when I give you my gouache brushes, it works great for this, okay? So let's just go. That's weird. Why doesn't it let me do it? Come on. That's one thing that drives me crazy. Let's just do it this way. Let's go. There we go. And then I can take some kind of ratty brush, and that again, the let's see if I can load my gouache ones. Hang on. I don't know where they are. Here they are. Come on. Oh, no, that's not them. Damn it. That's not the ones I wanted. Hang on. Open brush library, other library, gouache, brushes. Come on. There they are. So now I'm going to assign one of these to the too big. Come on. So see, I can start to get like brushy edges. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I can do it with all types of brushes. Like some of these are tighter. Like that. Right. And then you start to get these nice painted kind of edges, right?
Mm-hmm.
What, Josh? Did you bring enough for everybody? Now you made me hungry. I'm starving, man. So I might use one of those up here or something like that, because this one right now is not working, but you can see what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to when you look up on a hill, I mean, sometimes they don't have anything, but there's usually shrubs up there, or shapes up there, or trees up there, or whatever, right?
Yeah, some type of silhouette.
Yeah, just some type of silhouette. You don't want to overdo it. You don't want to underdo it, blah, blah, blah. And I don't like this brush yet. And I don't know why it's a different color, which is weird. But, you know, I'd break it up somehow. And then where are you going to start putting other things at in here?
I was probably going to try to shrink the shadow and like the left corner, and then on the open space on the right. I also wanted to do a road going up the mountain.
Yeah. I like to do the road out in the distance, and it comes in and goes over this hill, and then it disappears and comes up, and it keeps getting closer to you.
Yeah. What else would you think or suggest?
I'd get a few landmarks in there, or
Yeah.
I get something in there that tells me, okay, let's say this is desert. And then some big statement that says this is, I don't know, ocean or what. I'm just making it up, but
Okay, just like the statement behind it.
yeah, just because like, what's the statement? Is the statement like
You could travel anywhere, go anywhere with Airbnb. It's not anywhere like specific.
yeah? So yeah, I tie it into. I mean, you're starting to tie it into that idea of like the open road and all that kind of stuff, which is appealing to me, right?
Okay.
Does that all make sense?
Yeah. So yeah, like a big one or two good landmarks.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you always want to give yourself a concept and then go, okay, how do I visualize this concept?
Okay.
That's how I always do. But in this case, you just have to, you know, we're more interested in the mechanics than I am about the, you know, I want a good concept, but
Okay.
my computer's like super screwing up. Hang on. What's wrong with this thing? It wouldn't even it wouldn't hide my, whatever it's called. Wow, this is fun. Who's this? Where is it?
That's mine.
I like this like super designy bark idea.
Yeah,
You know?
I tried to not make it look too much like a tribal tattoo, but
No, I
so
don't
I
get
just
that.
kind of went and had fun with it.
No, it reads like a stylized version of that. I'd put another layer of loose leaves over the top that's a lighter value.
Okay.
Other than that, it looks pretty good.
Yeah.
And then I'd probably put some like leaves and things down here to hide the bottom of this.
Mm-hmm.
So it just sort of dies organically into like some grassy whatever you want.
Okay.
Then I might soften up a few of these edges back here on these silhouetted trees.
Okay.
And then we'll see where we're at on Wednesday. Yeah?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, you guys. You have any questions?
No, I was just trying to find fonts, but for some reason, whenever I install a font on my computer, because I'm using Windows, it like doesn't pick it up in Illustrator. So I just need to figure out why that is.
Because it's Windows.
Yeah.
What are you eating, Josh?
Frozen fruit.
Oh, that's disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it would be something tasty.
Mm-hmm. Frozen mango.
Oh, that's good. Does it have any of the tahini or whatever on it?
Mm-mm. Straight frozen mango.
You know what's good is those lollipops with
Those
the
are
chili
good.
all over them and the mango.
Oh, those are
Mhm.
the best.
They're so good. Dude. I got a whole bag of them there.
Oh, no.
You're making
Say that.
everyone hungry now.
Those are good. They're probably a sugar bomb, but whatever. Okay, hang on. I have Mac fonts. I usually give them to this class, so I'll probably give you those fonts too. What I would do with those, because it's obviously it's a huge download or whatever, I would just put them right onto like an external drive or something. But I would absolutely keep them because I've stolen the whole libraries off multiple companies in there. Okay,
All
and then and just the ones that I bought myself. Okay, so there's a lot of good fonts in there.
Mhm.
All right, so and they're Mac fonts, but and I don't know if they transfer over both ways now. I don't think they do. Do they?
I'm not too sure either.
I'm not sure either, but I'll give you guys that too, just so you have a decent font library. And I organized them by, I think I did go through them at one point and I got rid of all the bad fonts that weren't, they were useless, that were bad files or whatever. So I'll have to go find that, but I'll put that up too. Okay. I just want to move forward in this. I want to see progress on it on Wednesday. Yeah. Really good, you guys. Really good. Okay.
Cool.
Okay, guys. I'll see you on Wednesday.
Oh, Mike, can
Yeah.
I ask a quick question at the end of the class?
Sure.
Yeah.
Right now.
Okay.
Oh, is it private or anything?
It has to do with Frank again, so it's not related to the class.
Did he not get a hold of you yet?
He did. He emailed me, and then I answered back to confirm our appointment, and he disappeared again. So I don't know if he got.
All right, I'll poke him again.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't get that. So what'd you tell him? Oh, I saw what you told him because you CC'd me, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to get obnoxious. I'm just going to answer it and go, so what'd you guys decide? That's what I'll do. Right?
Yeah. I just
he's like I am. He's burrowed into his own weird crap. And I'm all burrowed into my weird crap. Right? But what I try and do is I try and put everything on my calendar, because if I don't put it on my calendar, it doesn't happen. So that's why sometimes I do it in class. Okay, I'll poke him. All right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. I'll talk to you guys on Wednesday.
See ya.